Hello everybody, welcome back to CuddlesRus. Today we're going to be breaking down everything that you need to know about the specialization system coming in Dune Awakening Chapter 3 with real numbers, some real impact, and exactly how it defines the endgame past Tier 6. So I'll say my opinions to somewhat of the end of each category. So with that said, let's go ahead, let's jump on into it. Okay, so let's start at the beginning here. Chapter 3 was announced December 18th, 2025, and it's one of the largest free updates this game has seen so far. It's expected to arrive early 2026, likely between January and March, with the public test server available right now. Okay, so you can check all this stuff out beforehand. I know they're going to be doing some tweaks here and there, but most of this information is going to stay the same. Okay, and if anything does change, I'll put it in a pinned comment down below. So keep your eyes out for that. And if you see something like messed up, just leave it in a comment. Okay, now the disclaimer's out of the way, let's go ahead and let's start breaking down the specialization system. Once you've reached Tier 6, the game progression is completely going to change, all right? This is where the specialization system really does come online, where you're going to be earning specialization experience primarily through the revamp of the Landsraad system. Now, the Landsraad missions are repeatable, all right? It's activity-based, and they rotate daily. So once you've completed those 5 missions, like, you're done for the day. All right. But it does have a rollover cap of 35 missions. So if you miss 1 or 2 days, you're going to be completely fine. These missions will reward the Specialization XP and also unlock the faction progression system and give you some major economy bonuses. While we're talking about the economy bonuses and benefits, there's actually 5 specialization trees that in total that you can pick from. All right. There's crafting, gathering, exploration, combat, and sabotage. Each one of these trees have 100 levels, and it does have a cosmetic unlock at level 75, a huge capstone trait at level 100 in total for every category. So in total, there's 500 levels of progression still available to people, even in the end game. Now, the developers did estimate that this is going to take somebody roughly around a year to fully max out everything. Each one of these categories is going to come with a minor trait scaling, and as you get, like, just for leveling it. Okay. Now they're also going to get some major traits, which require spice melange. It costs right around about 750 spice to fully unlock the entire tree. Now, for you guys out there that are trying to max out everything, that's going to be 3,750 spice melange to unlock all 5 trees. Now, as of right now, respecking isn't very possible, so you might want to be careful on which traits that you pick and choose. But for most players, if you're there, you might as well pick it up because, let's be real, you're going to pick it up eventually anyway. So go out there and find some more spice. And right now, you're probably being like, Cuddles, just hurry up, get to the point already. Well, I'm going to hurry up and get to the point of you liking and subscribing this video because it does go a long way to help the channel grow. But with that said, let's break down crafting. Crafting specialization is actually huge. This is probably one of the most impactful categories that you can see so far inside the specialization trees. Okay, this is actually going to be focusing on production efficiency, augments, which, you know, we all want augments, and long-term economic power when it comes to the fact that for every single level that you gain inside that tree, you'll gain 1% of item durability scaling. So anything that you make new after you get that, you'll have up to 100% increase in the item's durability. That means crafted items take twice as long, all right, once it's fully maxed out, to degrade. So let's talk about this crafting category as it was fully maxed out. Like I said, the durability gets you up to 100% max durability. Per every level, you'll get 1%. That's your minor increase. Okay, now all of these other ones you're going to have to slot into, so you're going to have to use spice melange to unlock them. So let's start at augments. Now, augments, we're going to get ranged augments to a max of 3 per item. Melee augments, we're going to get a max of 3 per item. But garments, we're going to get a max of 2 per item. So this is directly going to change how the builds work past Tier 6. Efficiency. Now your machine speed is actually going to be up 60%. Augment fabrication quality is going to be up 20%. Augment cost reduction is going to be down by 30%. Repair durability loss is also going to be down by 30%, which is a huge category for anybody out there repairing gear or making augments, especially with that machine speed. So this is actually going to be one of the biggest categories. It's refining and recycling. And I know what you guys are going to say. Recycling? Yes, recycling. It's probably one of the best resource gains in the entire game, because you'll be actually able to get your resources back from recycling yields up to 100 or up to 99%. All right. But you're also going to get a recycling rare chance, which is going to allow you to get your blueprints back from recycling that item plus 15%. Which is massive when you look at the overall scope. So, trying to find that blueprint again, if you get lucky, you got a 15% chance to get that blueprint back. Now, it also does come with spice refining up 30%, ore refining up 30%, and chemical refining up 30%. These are massive categories when you're looking at, the large spice refinery giving you 200 spice melange. That's an extra 60 spice melange every time somebody crafts it that has these specializations learned. Okay. Now, one of the best overall capstones that I've seen so far is actually called Ghost Data. Now, this Ghost Data is the capstone at level 100, all right, which will cost you 40 melange, but it actually has you a 15% chance to double any schematic that you've learned. This is probably one of the most strongest economy traits in the entire game. It's massive. In conclusion of this is, like I said, it's massive, but this is for anybody out there that's trying to craft, guild suppliers, or even just augment focused players. This is probably the most impactful tree that you can go down inside Dune Awakening at the current moment. But with that said, let's jump into one of the other ones. So let's go ahead and let's look at the printing press that is the Gathering Specialization tree. Now, like I said, this is a resource printing press when it comes to gathering resources. So with every single level that you're going to be getting, you're going to get 0.5% per level up to a max of 50%. Now we're going to look at all the rest of the bonuses all the way up at their max level. So you will have to spec into these. These will also cost you spice melange to unlock. So keep that in mind when we're going through this. All right, so let's look at tool and extraction bonuses. Our tool power drain is actually going to be minus 25%. Blood extraction rate is going to be up 100%. Water harvesting is also going to be up from 20%. So resource and jackpot bonuses. Yes, you heard that right. Jackpot bonuses. So let's first talk about mineral yield is going to be up 50%, but you're also going to be able to get a rare resource chance of 25%. So those rare resources that we're finding in the deep desert, you potentially might find them inside your resource nodes now. All right. So this is a huge perk that they can give you up to 25%. So, 1 out of 4, it's a pretty good chance. So we also got scrap salvage is up also 40%, which is meh, okay, in the grand scheme of things. But look out for those rare resources. All right, so we're looking at worm and area control, okay? Now this category is going to reduce your worm threat reduction by 25%, which is kind of big, especially when coupling it with soft step boots and stuff like this. It's really going to come to an effect when you mix it with a compactor range of 80%. All right. So now gathering that flower sand, since we have no other way of doing it other than a compactor, is actually going to be so much easier now than it ever has been before. Please, Funcom, fix this. Let us pick it up with the sand crawler. Jesus, it's supposed to pick up sand. You got spice sand, you got flower sand. Let's put them together, making it unique to get this done right. If you leave it in a comment down below if you want to see that done too. And let's make Funcom fix this. But I digress. Let's go ahead and let's talk about logistics. So in logistics, we're going to be doing a pickup yield of plus 200%. All right. That's huge with pretty much everything that we're gathering from the deep desert. Now, they also reduce the corpse volume by 50%. So no longer of that 75 weight category, it's actually going to be reduced down 50%, which is massive. This is straight up for all of those solo gatherers, those guild suppliers, or even just the high risk farmers that are out there every single day risking their lives compacting that sand for flower sand. And you know who I'm talking about. So let's get Funcom to fix it. Leave it down in a comment below. What do you say? Now let's talk about exploration and the specializations that come into it. Now this set really does focus on mobility, vehicle, and discovery. Now this is perfect for the solo players and even the map runners because it is going to give you a lot of carrying capacity. So let's talk about these numbers like as a whole. All right. So inventory volume, you're going to get up to 100%, which equates to about 350 volume that you're going to receive inside your bag for completing this tree up to 100% or up to a level 100. All right. Now, they do have perks that you can perk into to give you an additional 25 extra slots to make that weight viable. All right. So there's something to look out for. Very cool. Now, vehicle performance is also in this tree, which we're going to receive vehicle speed increases by 15%, fuel efficiency up 25%, boosted heat reduction minus 50%. That's going to be so massive for those people and scouts boosting away from the fight. Also, heat distribution is also up 30%, so it's going to allow us to recoup those heat losses or to get back those heat reserves faster. So all of you carrier drivers are actually going to get a huge perk from these bonuses. Vehicle recovery reduction. So now it's going to cost you 50% less if your vehicle ever gets damaged and you have to restore it in any way. It's going to reduce that cost by 50%. Now let's talk about scanning and discovery. Scanning and discovery, your survey times are going to be reduced by 50%. So anybody out there surveying the deep desert every week is actually going to receive a 50% decrease in the scan time. But it's also going to increase the scan range on your personal scanners by 50%. All right, fog revealed is plus 50%. So when you are flying out there and you can just see 50% more of the map. And also hidden loot, all right, that increases the spawn rate of all the hidden loot that you can find in the deep desert when you're scanning for it, which is actually, if you're treasure hunting, is kind of a big perk. Okay, so let's talk about the survival aspect of this tree. Now, the survival aspect of this tree is the sandstorms are actually going to reduce the damage by 45%. All right, your Sam's worm threat is also going to be reduced by 20%, and your climbing stamina cost is also reduced by 20% in total. So let me know in a comment down below, do you use the climbing stamina cost by any means? But with that said, this is a very effective vehicle performance increase to all players. So it's kind of hard to choose whether or not what category you're going to be in just yet. But with that said, let's dive into the next one. So let's talk about combat specialization tree. Let's talk about this one where it's going to just be focusing more on raw damage and survivability. Now, this one tree doesn't really provide a lot of unique bonuses, but what it is going to provide you with a minor bonus, which is scaling damage 1% per level, but it's also going to give you mitigation 0.5% per level, which equates to a max of 100% extra damage and 50% damage reduction. What it's also going to give you is actually core stats. All right. Its skill points is going to give you 54 total skill points additional to the 200 that you currently have. All right. It's also going to give you a max health of 55 and a max stamina of 55. Now, let me know in the comments down below if combat specialization is really something to be looking out for, and how impactful will those skill points really be inside of combat is yet to be determined. Now, this tree could massively separate the players and the power gap between players that specialize in this tree due to the fact that they can get more perks into passives and more abilities to switch out their skills, this, that, and the other. But leave it down in a comment below. What do you think about this combat specialization? So let's go ahead and let's talk about our last category. Now, this last category is really going to be political Landsraad and stuff to that nature. Okay, this is kind of a diverse tree when you look at the whole. Let's go ahead and let's look at the core scaling. The core scaling is going to be damaged versus staggered enemies. Now, this is going to give you 0.5 per level up to a max of 50%. And the next is stealth and combat control. Now, stealth and combat control is going to provide you with additional headshot damage by 25%, detection range minus 30%. Recognition speed is also 35%, and the detection range and the recognition speed is only when it's relating to NPCs. This is how fast they detect you coming, and also how fast that they respond to you attacking them. Next is going to be scan duration, which is going to be how fast you can scan. It's going to be reduced by 75%, so you'll have a lot less time scanning. Also, scan resistance is up 75%, so hopefully you can block out some of those scans that are happening towards you. That's stealth and combat. Let's talk about economy and politics. Probably something really important that happens here is you actually are going to get script rewards plus 30%. Now, those script rewards are actually their new currency. You go to a script vendor and you can buy certain things to help your augments, to give you certain materials and stuff like this. It's kind of big in the grand scheme of things that you're going to need quite a bit of these, especially if you're making a lot of augments and stuff to that nature. You are going to want enough script rewards to make sure that you can buy all of the components needed to make them. Taxation reduction is actually going to be minus 60%, which in the grand scheme of things really is kind of big depending on how big your base is and if you're living in a tax haven or if you got a giant base or a guild base, and if you're paying taxes for the whole server, that's up to you. You do get a tax reduction of 60% when you're paying your taxes. Bribery cost now is reduced by 35%. So all of those people out there bribing the Landsraad houses, you're going to be receiving a 35% reduction in that total cost. Landsraad contribution is actually going to say how many points that you're going to be given to the Landsraad, and it's really going to be the political divide that separates a guild that is specializing in this trait is going to be making sure that their community or their guild is actually going to be receiving the most amount of points to that Landsraad vendor, especially if you're trying to control the Landsraad and you're trying to control what decrees are issued. This 30% is kind of big when it comes to that, because if somebody doesn't perk into this and you do, that means you're going to win more times out of not, because they don't have that bonus and you do. But let's talk about the utility of this tree. All right, the utility of this tree is actually going to be trap delay. Now, trap delay is going to be increased by 100%, but your explosive damage is extra damage, but it's also corpse loot. Now, corpse loot does increase. When you kill an enemy and you go and inspect their body, that loot has now been increased. So you'll be able to get more for a little less. I'm really trying to think of like who this tree is for, and I'm thinking it's for those guys that are PvP disruptors, maybe the stealth player, even the political power gamer, the guy that wants to control the deep desert, the guy that wants to make sure that all the decrees land his way. So after all of this, we're all done with all the specialization trees, and you're probably asking yourself, Cuddles, what are you planning to do? What's your plan for the structure, and where are you going to focus my time? Well, I don't really like to tell people exactly how to play their game. Okay. Now, with the specialization systems they put out there, now this is going to make sure that every player can customize their gameplay in the way that they see fit. Now, me personally, what I plan on doing is taking, since we're allowed 5 quests per day, my overall plan is to have 3 go into crafting until I max it out, and then 1 go into combat, and 1 as a flex spot. 1 that I can just shoot anywhere that I need to like get exploration, to do sabotage, to do gathering and stuff like this. And I may rotate that one throughout all of those different trees depending on what I need at that time. It's too hard to say right now, like how much XP is it going to take us to get towards like that end game part? How much, XP does it take? Now, those are some of the things that may change here, there, and wherever. But with that said, guys, if you guys gotten anything out of this content, or you want to stay up to date with Dune Awakening, please do hit that like, hit that subscribe, hit that bell because you want to keep up to date. As always, stay thirsty, my friends, and I will see you guys on Arrakis.